of Lions fans just going nuts after the game. And he tweets, I've seen a lot of opposing fan bases make noise for a team after a win, but the Lions might have topped them all today. Or as Jared Goff said to me as he left the field, are you seeing this? Best fans in the effing league. Peter King estimated there were 25,000 Lions fans.
Wow. I mean, that's wow.
Yep.
What is that, a third of the capacity there? That's amazing.
Yep.
I mean, I thought they'd travel well, and I know that you already got a bunch of transplanted Michiganders down there in the state of Florida and go to Tampa to see the Lions play when they're good. It doesn't surprise me that there'd be a lot, but that number,
yep,
that's a big estimate.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Chris. 248-539-9797. Still ahead at 9:35. We're going to play the schedule game a little bit with the Lions and one of their adversaries. We're talking about Michigan State, Lions, Ravens. And if you're a passionate Spartan fan who's also a passionate Lion fan, and I know a couple of these people out there, which team would you rather see win this weekend? You can look at it from the coaching perspective. The brothers. Would you rather have John Harbaugh cry or Jim Harbaugh cry? The Lions need this win, or is it more than Michigan State? Do you value rubbing salt in the eyes of your friends, their tears, if you're a Michigan State fan, if Michigan loses, more than the success of your favorite pro football team? That's the question you have to answer. 248-539-9797 is the telephone number. Love to hear what you think. Let's go to Tim on a cell. What's up, Tim?
Hey, guys. How are y'all this morning?
Good.
Yeah, so I'm a diehard Spartan fan. I grew up with a block green S painted on my wall in my bedroom growing up. And I really think it's the Lions winning is more important. It's as a diehard Lions fan, I live in Austin, Texas. I don't live anywhere near Detroit. It's been a hard road being a Lions fan and listening to people dog on them all the time. And I think this win going to Baltimore, getting some redemption for that last-minute kick that Tucker had against us, and giving them the business on Sunday would do a lot more. I think Michigan State's a bit of a dumpster fire right now, unfortunately. And, yeah, a win would really help with recruiting and bring in some recruits and look good. But I think the Lions winning helps with that narrative that it's not the same old Lions.
Tim, let me ask you a question that may be absurd considering you're a big Spartan fan, but you're living in Austin, Texas. Is the Texas fan, we're back, and obviously they had a good season, having a good season except for the Oklahoma game. Are they more annoying than Michigan fan to you?
I would say no. I would say the Michigan fan's still way more annoying.
Okay, that's what I figured. but I've heard from people who are not Texas fans who live in that state that Longhorn fans are awful as far as their pomposity and arrogance, just like they are in Ann Arbor.
Well, I feel like Longhorn fans and Cowboy fans are one and the same, where they think their team's good every year, but they're really not.
Oh, music to my ears. Thank you very much, Tim. Yes, appreciate it. Yes. Anybody can take a rip at the Cowboys, who actually are still a pretty good football team. Steve in Clinton Township, you're in 97 The Ticket.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm just calling regards. I'm a huge Michigan State and Lions fan, but I just want to say, I just get to the point, I'd rather see Michigan State win this game. I look at Michigan fans as Cowboy fans. Every year they think it's their year. I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of the disrespect we've always gotten, saying we're either the little brothers of the state or even worse, the little sisters. Michigan overall, I mean, it's obviously a good school, but towards their fan base, it's just, to me, it's always overrated. They always think that it's going to be their year, especially when it comes to football. And it just basically rings my bell.
You don't want the Lions to succeed, basically. Is that what you're saying?
No, because my thing, it's not that I don't want them to succeed. It's like some other people have already stated. They're going to drop a few games. They're going to win the division, in my opinion. The division's not as strong as it once was. And plus, obviously, with injuries with Jefferson and et cetera, I just don't see anybody else being a threat in that division. So we should at least walk away with that division.
Okay.
I'm not sure beyond after that. We might win a playoff win. I just don't see us beating San Francisco if for some reason San Francisco ends up winning the whole conference, like taking it to them.
Yep, I get you.
And so the only benefit for Michigan State then is just to spite. It's not actually.
Because
they're not going to do anything else. The rest of
our chances are we're probably not going to win any other damn game. So the most important game to me would be to beat Michigan. And then to me, I don't even give a damn if we lost every game by 20-something every game. I mean, just to have that again for a whole year would be impeccable. And it's at our home, so it's like that's even better.
I think they'll beat Indiana. 248-539-9797. Of course, we'll see, but that's my guess right now. Eric in Berkeley, you're on 97 won the ticket.
Good morning, gentlemen. Being a MSU grad and, of course, a native of Michigan, I got to go with MSU winning. It's an identity thing, right? I live there. Us Spartans, we all live there. And right now, Michigan State needs a big win. With all the crap going on, we need something. And we need something to get people to come and play for us. And if they see that we can still beat our crosstown rival, there's still something there. Now I want to flip it to John. First of all,
okay.
I'm a student of your father's. I hope he's doing okay.
He's doing great.
If OSU and U of M were playing this weekend, what would your stance be? Same question, same frame.
Well, I would say I would want, obviously, Michigan to beat Ohio State because it's probably going to be for the Big Ten championship. There's a lot more riding on it other than just the fact that there's bragging rights. Bragging rights come along with it, but there's just more riding on it. There's not the only thing riding on it for this game is bragging rights for Michigan State.
Right. They asked the question, if it wanted to be appropriate, basically, is if Michigan was having the season that Michigan State was having, would you rather Michigan win or the Lions win? That's the question for John.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I thought we were trying to be at least somewhat realistic.
Well, there was the COVID year; they sucked, but whatever.
Sure, yeah, and Indiana was going to win the Big Ten. I mean, okay. What are we going to do with all the results of that year?
I understand, but you did have. There was a time period for about 5 to 6 years where Michigan State was arguably much better than Michigan during the D'Antonio, Rich Rod, and all that stuff. So the question,
not arguably, they were
okay. So same question in that scenario. If Michigan was having a down year for whatever reason, if Michigan was in the same position as Michigan State, would you want Michigan to win this game or the Lions to win this game? That's what he was asking you.
Yes, I know. I was just poking all of the Spartans I could possibly poke.
I know.
And so no, I would want the Lions to win.
Whoa.
And this because we're like a lot of the things that we are hearing from callers or from texters, this is so unique with the Detroit Lions. The fact that they are 5-1, that it feels like it's a valid 5-1. It's one that's repeatable throughout the course of this schedule. And this game, going to Baltimore, it's not going to be the same home field advantage that we felt in – and it's hard to believe it had happened in Kansas City, but there was a lot of Honolulu Blue at Arrowhead, in Green Bay, in Tampa. Like, it's going to be different in Baltimore. So to be able to go there and get a win and have something of substance, of something of value. You beat Michigan State, or if Michigan State beats Michigan, if the tables were turned, what's the substance? What's the value? There's not a championship riding on it for Michigan State this year.
Let's go to some ticket texts. Spartan win all day. Morning, folks. This is Big J from White Lake. Above all else, Lions need some payback against those Ravens. Hopefully that will put those Seahawks on course for a playoff meeting in Detroit so we can shoot them down as well. I come from a family of Spartan alums. We want to see MSU win. By the way, John, all of us were accepted into both Michigan State and Michigan. Go green, go white. If you're a fan,
now it's an issue of decision making.
You are brutal. If you are a fan of both, the Lions is much more important win, as most of us have been waiting our entire lives to see a season with this potential. Last season, there were lots of near misses in the first half of the season, close games, and 2 absolutely whoopings, aside from the blown Carolina game. And Brennan from Ottawa Lake says, Lions win all the way. Let's go to Tim in Ann Arbor. You're a 97 on the ticket.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. I think I'm the third Tim to take you took a call on this, so that's fun. I have to take the Lions on this one. I have loved Michigan State, the only one in my family to love Michigan State and not Michigan, and that's always been a battle. I'm actually going to a party full of Michigan fans Saturday, so as great as it would be to rub it in their face, I think that a Lions win just means more. The getting closer to a number 1 seed, I think that's really important. I've seen Michigan State be good, but I've never really seen the Lions be good and actually believe in them. And for once, I would like to know what that feels like to see them in the playoffs. And I think a win over – I mean, I've seen them in the playoffs, but a win over the Ravens would just mean a lot, and I would rather have that.
Thanks for the call. They win in Baltimore against that team, that defense. Oh. Rich, you're a 97 on the ticket.
Oh, it's not Tim?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I live in Flint now, but I just moved here from Austin, Texas.
Oh.
So it was nice hearing the other guy call about Austin. And to answer your question, yes, Texas fans are identical to Michigan fans. They believe they're the greatest, and they're entitled to everything. As far as the games this weekend, I bleed green. I've got a dog named Sparty in the backseat of my car, and go green. The Lions will win.
What kind of dog is it?
This year. I'm driving to the Ann Arbor VA hospital right now, and I've got my dog named Sparty in the back seat.
Now, John, want to know what kind of dog he is.
He's a Dalmatian.
Okay.
So you rather have the Spartans win than the Lions win? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. My entire family bleeds blue. I went to Michigan State. And, yes, I did get accepted to both.
John opened it up.
I knew you were winding up with that one.
Yeah. I think I got everybody fired up. Here we go.
That's
248.
That's what Wolverines do. 248-539-9797.
Hey, snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets, absolutely guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, and that's whether you win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. App is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and so much more. So download the app, explore it, have some fun, or visit FanDuel.com/Jansen and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or over and present in Michigan. First online real money wager only. First $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help.
it starts at the top and goes all the way down. But the culture is set by Sheila Fordham and, Brad Holmes, Chris Spielman, Dorsey, Dan Campbell, the players, everybody in the front office, the nutritionist, training staff, whatever. There's just a mindset there of all for, one for all for one, whatever it is. They're all have a singular goal. And that used to never be there. There used to be all these fiefdoms that this person cared about this thing. And nobody would get along. They got along as people a lot of times, but they weren't on the same page.
Yep.
You have to have, in today's national football, you have to be on the same page.
And look, I think it's a safe debate as that we can have. I think we're licensed to have a debate whether or not they're the best team in the NFC, given what happened over the weekend. That's A. And B, even if they aren't the best team, they appear to be set up for the best path to success, given the schedule. Seasons are long, man. Things change. A year ago at this time, things looked pretty hopeless. And yet they've turned it around, and things can go south in a hurry. We all know that. And this past weekend was a prime example of how, San Francisco was a double-digit favorite against Cleveland and lost. Philadelphia was in the process of putting the Jets away, and then their quarterback made a terrible decision. And through an interception, they lost. And those weren't two good teams.
The 248-539-9797. As we know, the Lions taking on the Ravens on Sunday. Lions injury problems continue to mount, although they are expected, nothing etched in stone. Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Branch expected to probably be back on Sunday. David Montgomery, no doubt, will be out, at least this game and maybe the next one. But yesterday, Craig Reynolds' name appeared on the injured list with a toe and hamstring designation. Now, they didn't practice yesterday. Physically, it was more of a mental video day, walkthrough, that type of thing. So we do not know, maybe we'll find out after practice today if he's on the injury report. And they always say, John, if you're not on it, if you're on the injury report on Friday, there's a good chance he's not playing. So with that being said, taking the negative aspect of it, let's say Craig Reynolds cannot play. They did sign Ibrahim back to the practice squad, the running back from Minnesota, who was really good in college when he was healthy,
Yeah.
to this team. And Gibbs coming back. Do the Lions need to make another move, not just for this week, but for down the road, especially if Montgomery's injury is more serious than we thought, or even Reynolds being more serious than we thought?
I don't want to get caught in a knee-jerk reaction to where, hey, if Gibbs is going to be back, here's what we don't know is how healthy is Gibbs? Are they rushing him back? Because they have to rush him back. If he's coming back and it's, hey, he would be back no matter what, and they feel like he can be effective, like he was earlier in the season as the lead back, then I don't know that you necessarily have to go out there. Now, if he's not in that position, and he's not going to be a guy that you can look at and say, well, hey, maybe he can't handle the ball 20 times a game. I think there's a couple of guys that you could take a look at in regards to giving you some relief at that running back position. And I know we've always talked about, hey, playoff Leonard Fournette, you could go get him. He doesn't have a team right now, and that's one way to go. But if you wanted to go get an active player, I think there's a guy in Washington, Antonio Gibson, who has played well since he was drafted, since he came into the NFL. His touches have dropped off now that Brian Robinson is there, former back at Alabama, and is healthy, is playing well. I think he's a guy that you could get on the cheap. He would come in, and it's not going to provide a too crowded room at that point. Montgomery still clearly going to be your lead guy. Gibbs will still clearly be number 2, and then Gibson, when everything is all said and done, would be a great number 3 to have.
I like him. That's a good suggestion. I also think it's worth, making the call, as we like to say here at the 97.1 The Ticket, to the Colts for Zach Moss. Jonathan Taylor has been re-signed, as you know. He's their number 1. Zach Moss also a free agent at the end of the season. So it probably wouldn't cost anything more than a 5th-round pick, I would think, to get him. And he was obviously very productive this season, and he's had a decent career. And like I said, it could be a rental, and you probably won't have to give him that much.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, we're talking about the fact that there's been a rash of injuries on the team, but especially at that running back position. Gibbs is back. We'll go under that assumption. Would you rather they spend draft capital on, somebody like a Moss or a Gibson at the running back position? They could go out and find somebody to help in the secondary, because there have been some guys banged up in the secondary. Or is there another position, wide receiver, defensive line, that you would rather them, if they're going to spend draft capital, that they would address a different position?
I'd say a different position. And as much as I think they still need a little wide receiver depth, we read about that the Broncos might want to get rid of Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton or both. Hunter Renfro's name has also been tossed out by the Raiders, allegedly. I'd go on the defensive side of the ball, whether it's Danielle Hunter for the Vikings, or you mentioned the secondary, Adoree Jackson of the Giants. He's not great, but he's a solid guy. You want to go another pass rusher, Ngakoue from the Bears, Ngakoue. He doesn't do very well against the run, but he pressures the quarterback a lot. Those are other names. As much as I love Brian Burns, even though he will be a free agent in the season, I think the ask would probably be too much for what Brad Holmes would be willing to give. But one of those guys
Frank
that I
Clark
mentioned
was officially released.
Yes. Does Frank Clark fit in this locker room, in this culture? That I don't know. I would guess no, but I also guess the fact that if you don't have too many of those guys who've had off the field issues, it's okay as long as it's an exception, not the rule.
Yeah, and you're not going to have to pay him a whole lot. He's coming in for basically the rest of the year, and then he does have postseason experience. He's got obviously Super Bowl experience. It'd be another guy that you could look at, and so there are some options. And I'm curious as to what the Lions fans think.
Yeah, 248-539-9797. What do you think? Should the Lions go after a running back with the injury situation that they have? now that Craig Reynolds might be out as well, or go for a different position, whether it be wide receiver, whether it be defensive back, pass rusher, something realistic you can get. Or are you okay with them just saying, you know what, I don't want to give up either 5th or 6th round picks because Brad Holmes makes good players out of them. I'd rather just stand pat. I'm not a stand pat type of a guy right now. I think they're too close.
Well, it always depends on, and this is where you run into is, are you getting good value for what you get in return? If you get a guy like a Moss and you give up let's just say it takes a 5th round pick in the 2024 draft to get Moss, but then he's gone after the season because he's on an expiring contract. He says, I don't want to stay in Detroit, and he goes somewhere else. Are you okay with basically sending your 5th round pick to Indianapolis and not have anything long term?
Well, that's yes, I would be. That's the gamble. If he's productive here and he helps them, go win a couple playoff games, yes, that's worth it to me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so it's going to be what is the risk and reward? What is the asset that you're giving up? And are you getting enough in return? And sometimes that return can just be the number of wins that you are expecting or that you want this year or how far you want to go in the playoffs.
Ticket text 248-539-9797. We'd love to hear from you guys. Guys, we are in a position for a Super Bowl. Who gives a blank about cost? Derrick Henry. I don't think he's great. I don't think that would put you over the top personally.
That's not happening.
Well, but here's the thing too, and again, it goes risk and reward. Are the Lions right now? We talk about Super Bowl windows. Do you want to just, hey, this is the very first year that you've been good. You haven't even won a playoff game. You haven't won a division. You haven't done anything, but you think you're going to be that team that goes from, hey, a 8-9 team, or 9-8 being out of the playoffs. You're 2 years removed from being 3-13-1. You're going for the Super Bowl. You're going all in, and you think the Super Bowl is this year. Or do you think that you have a couple of years to make that, and maybe next year at the trade deadline is where you go less need, F the picks, and you go all in?
It's more logical. You're speaking with much more logic to do it next year, but we don't know what they think. If they think that they are close and they're, are they close to Philadelphia? Yeah. Are they close to San Francisco? I'm not so sure. Another one on ticket text. Jamal Williams would be very easy to get back from the Saints. Now that Kamara is back, that's from Dan. They paid him too much money. I mean, you can't have all your running backs being this. First of all, Montgomery and no, I don't want Jamal Williams. He's a great guy in the room and all that kind of stuff. Unless Montgomery is a long-term injury, no, not Jamal Williams. That makes no sense to me. Our telephone number is 248-539-9797. Coming up next, I'm going to play the little schedule game and how it affects the Lions, and can they be a 1 seed because of this? 97 won the ticket.
Hey, when you've been injured in an accident, whether it's an auto, truck, or motorcycle accident, or slip and fall, attorney David Feminino is the guy that you need to call. As I've told you previously, when you get injured in Michigan, you get David and get paid. And David personally makes sure that you get every single dime you deserve, and he's not going to take any of those dimes until you get paid first. If you've been injured or you know someone that's been injured, you need to tell them to call David Feminino at 855-65-CRASH or go to his website, getdavidgetpaid.com. That's 855-65-CRASH, getdavidgetpaid.com.
The telephone number is 248-539-9797. Let's go to Bill in Canton, who's been patiently waiting. What's up, Bill?
Hey, guys. Great show. Real quick on the Lions. I think I want to kind of like stay pat on the running back situation. I'd like to see him get a defensive lineman or a wide receiver. I think that's a little thin there, especially with the couple injuries. So that's my take. And, John, go blue, man. There's no way the Spartans are going to win on Saturday. Michigan's going to roll.
Go blue. I agree with you. And I don't necessarily disagree with you either about what to do with the Lions. And the wide receivers, while we've had some guys step up and play well, and I hope that J-Mo continues to progress and becomes a bigger part of the offense, I do think there are bigger needs than going and trying to shore up the running back room.
All right, we have some ticket texts. Pretty interesting here. With Denver's record and draft pick situation, what about Javonte Williams? It's Eric in Livonia. Be interesting. Can we please sign Lenny already? He's young, fresh, and ready to go. I don't know how young he is. He had over 1,000 scrimmage yards last season and still has lots of juice left. Jamal Williams was a durable, rugged back who stayed healthy the whole season, unlike Montgomery, who is a better back. Well, Jamal Williams is unhealthy right now, right? He was on the IR. I think we don't need to make a big of a decision trade-wise. We're doing good. I'm afraid Detroit's going to end up screwing themselves because this is all new to us. Zach Moss has had fumble issues in the past. I can't fathom giving up a draft capital for a rental player. Playoff Lenny wouldn't cost any capital. I'd give him a call first. If I'm trading draft capital, I need someone on the defensive side of the ball. I agree with you. I threw Zach Moss's name out there because I thought it was interesting. I won't give up a lot of draft capital, but you're not going to give up a lot for a rental anyway. And the fumble deal, if that's accurate, that's a great point. Absolutely go for it. Not even a Lions fan. I know they're the best team in the league. Whoa. You add another piece right now. This is the last year with Ben Johnson. Now. I don't think you can worry about which assistant coaches are going to be here right now. That's irrelevant.
I think people are going to be disappointed at the trade deadline approach here.
Yeah.
I'm not saying nothing big can happen. Remember, all these guys are saying this. We're in this for the long haul, a foundation,
right?
And becoming a winning franchise. I don't know. I'm not saying that they shouldn't push the envelope at some point. They're going to have to. There's going to be a risk you're going to have to take along the way. Yeah, I just don't know about. There's been a lot of teams in the NFL lately have taken these huge swings. Some have worked, some haven't. I just don't feel it, especially in a running back. I think unless Montgomery's a long-term thing,
I agree.
They don't have they want to keep the room the same with the same players.
Won't we get a comp pick for any free agent we might trade for if they go elsewhere after the season? That's got to be part of the equation. That's from Mickey. It depends where they're taken and how many there are. It's a whole complicated. I don't think that's an issue. And finally, go get Max freaking Crosby. Imagine him opposite of Hutch. That makes me slightly hard. Brian and Taylor.
This is getting excited.
Look, okay, why not get Patrick Mahomes? Seriously. Max Crosby would be great, but I don't think unless I'm nuts, I don't think the Raiders are giving him up. Do you?
No, I don't really know that there's anything that they're going to give Max Crosby up for. They've got a couple of pieces. They've got Max Crosby, they've got Devontae Adams. They got Josh Jacobs as a running back. Like, they have a few pieces where they could go and, if they do have a fire sale, and you mentioned Hunter Renfrow, they could trade him. There's a couple other guys that they could market and try and get some picks and get back into this thing and speed up their rebuild, their progress.
He's their best player.
Yeah, but they're not going to get rid of their best, their best
couple
couple guys.
That's what I'm saying. That's why, look, it'd be wonderful. We live in a dream, pick your receiver from, hey, let's go get Tyreek Hill, okay? I know it's different situations. All right. The Lions have a record, as you know, at 5-1. So do two other teams in the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Sometimes we love playing the schedule game. Sometimes we hate it. Right now, I'm playing the schedule game. Because if you look at the schedule game, that's why this game in Baltimore is somewhat important. Because if they can win this game, they will have the luxury with the end of their schedule. And look, John, you said it earlier in the show. The only real hard games they have is Sunday in Baltimore, maybe at L.A. against the Chargers, which will probably be a home game anyway, because every Charger home game is really a road game for them because of the out-of-town fans, and in Dallas, December 30th. Other than that, the Lions will be favored in every game, I assume. There's a team out there who's also 5-1 that has a schedule, especially the next 6 or 7 games, that is brutal. This is the time where the Detroit Lions should pass the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's who the Eagles have the rest of the way. Beginning Sunday night, they're playing Miami. It's in Philly. I'm not saying they're going to lose, but there's a good chance Miami is playing really well. Then they go at Washington. Philly's obviously better than Washington, but Washington gives them trouble, especially at home, right?
Yeah.
Then they got to play.
Last time, took them to overtime.
Yeah. Then they play Dallas in Philly. Then they have the bye. Then they go at Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco.
At Dallas.
At Dallas. Yeah. Keep going forward. At Seattle. Then they finish with, it's almost like the Lions schedule with they finish with the Giants, Arizona, and at the Giants. So their final 3, similar to the Lions' final 3, is not that tough. But up until then, from week number 6, which is week number 7, which is this week, through week number 16, they have week number 5 through week 15, they have a brutal schedule. And I think the Lions will pass the Eagles as far as the rooting for the seedings schedule.
Yeah. I think they will as well. I hope they pass them in your Super 6 next week. But
they probably will.
When you're looking at this team and the schedules, obviously, passing Philly with Philly's schedule and the fact that they're going to play Dallas, and we anticipate that we're going to be 5-0 in the remaining division games. But weird things happen in the division.
Right.
And we've already seen it with Washington and Philly, right? Washington takes them to overtime. They play them tough. They've got to play Dallas twice. One of them obviously a home game, one of them away. Those are the type of games where you're like, wow, you're looking at it going, it's a tough road for the Eagles. And yeah, I agree that by week 11, I expect the Detroit Lions to at least be, at worst, the second best record in the NFC.
You're correct. I do too. And it's nothing against the Eagles. They just have a really, really tough schedule. And, that's what happens when you go to the Super Bowl. Sometimes your non-divisional games that's already set up beforehand, sometimes they're really tough. And they had to play the NFC West this year. And with San Francisco, they had a decent win at L.A. against the Rams. The Rams are an average team. And then they have to play Arizona near the end. But, San Francisco and Seattle are tough. The 2 games against Dallas that you mentioned, if they split, they'll be happy. I won't say the players will be happy, but you have to be realistic to think that they'll split with those teams. And the Lions, worst comes to worst, okay? So the Lions are 5-1 now. They have how many games in the division left? 5?
5.
Okay,
yeah.
So let's say they go 4-1 in those 5 games. So worst comes to worst, they're 9-2 before their non-divisional games. And I think a fool would say that they're going to at least win 1 or 2 more. They're going to win this division.
Well, yeah, because, you look and you say, if you're going to play the schedule game, you got the Ravens, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Saints, and Cowboys. Those are outside your division, and Broncos. So Broncos, let's chalk that up as a win.
Right.
Chargers, let's chalk that up as a win. Raiders, let's chalk that up as a win. So it gets back to the 2 games that we've been talking about is the Ravens and the Cowboys.
Right. So by your math, they're guaranteed 12 right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take
Yeah, I think this is a team, and because I was more optimistic than most about this team coming in.
Yes.
I was a solid 11 games.
Right. I was a solid 10. That solid's going a little soft right now.
You're what?
The solid is not so solid for 10. I think it's going to be better. So it's not solid.
Yeah. No, I think it's firmed up even more.
Yeah.
So we're going from 11 wins. I'm at 12, and I think that 13 and 14 are certainly on the table. Now, a lot of it will depend on what happens this Sunday. How do they go to Baltimore? How do they handle this environment? It's going to be an environment very much like it was at Arrowhead to start the season, but maybe even a little bit more an advantage for the home team, which I can't believe I'm saying, but the Lions fans and the way that they traveled to Arrowhead still blows my mind.
Yeah, especially since, you figure the Chiefs fans want to be there for when they, raise the banner and do all that stuff. I mean, I know a few Lion fans who will be in Baltimore on Sunday because a friend of mine, a guy I know, has his kids getting married on Saturday in Washington. Amazing. He's a Michigan State guy. They're getting married on Michigan State night. Anyway, that's a different discussion for maybe tomorrow.
Yeah. But let me ask you this, Stoney. When you look at this team, and we're doing the schedule game, do you think 13 wins gets it done for having home field advantage, or are they going to have to get to 14 or higher?
I got to look at the 49ers schedule, but 13 would definitely get them past Philly, in my opinion. And the 49ers still have to play.
Well, we know they got to play Philly. They got to play at Seattle. Mm-hmm. They've got the Jaguars. They've got the Bengals. Minnesota, which I'm not going to chalk that one up, is a tough one. And they play the Ravens and the Rams.
I think they might need 14 to get past San Francisco. But 13 will get you
14
at least
and
14.
And
you're
they're going to have to win
seed.
all of those NFC games.
Right. 13. I think you're the minimum the 2 seed with a chance on being the 1 seed. All right. Our telephone number is 248-539-9797. Carson Anderson coming up next. We'll see how Gator does in the 2 Grand Slam as well. 97 won the ticket.
Hey, for everyone out there who is suffering from constant joint pain, I know that this fall has been tough. All you want to do is get outside, go for walks, enjoy the crisp fall weather, play some golf, even on those nice days. You want to do all those things pain-free. Here's the good news. The incredible doctors at Straith Orthopedics can help. They'll make sure you get back to enjoying all your favorite activities just as soon as possible. And I'm telling you all the time about patients who rave about life-changing care they received at Straith Orthopedics. They're some of the highest-rated specialists in Southeast Michigan. And I can tell you it's true. My family has been there. They've gone there. My dad back on the softball diamond with a brand-new knee. So start living your life pain-free. Call Straith Orthopedics at 855-STRAIGHT, or you can visit them online at straith.org. That's STRAITH.org. Straith also offers free lunch with the doctor events. So if you want to learn more about their minimally invasive, innovative treatments that they have to offer in a no-obligation casual setting, you can meet with a Straith doctor, in person, ask all your questions, get all your answers. Call 855-STRAIGHT for an event near you. Straith Orthopedics is committed to you.
Seasons are very long, and things change throughout the course of the season. If the Lions go to Baltimore and win, it's hard to envision where and if it could go south. You're setting yourself up.
Stop. We know there's one.
There's one thing. Yeah, there's one thing. But they are really setting themselves up to have a chance at that number 1 seed that he talked about. A win over Baltimore will go a long way toward helping about that. But even if they lose to Baltimore, the Lions' schedule compared to San Francisco and Philadelphia's is on paper significantly easier. They still have the 5 division games. They still have Denver on the schedule. I mean, they still have some teams that don't look very good, that really could. Nothing's a punch button win, right? But those are 6 games the Lions have the luxury of playing that Philly and San Francisco don't have.
This is true. I mean, the Bears, and we'll see what happens with Justin Fields if he's hurt for the long term or if he was just out for the rest of that game yesterday. But if he's out long term, that torpedoes what they're trying to build. Takes a big old detour.
Jeff Darlington, ESPN reporter, tweeted out a video last night.
The telephone number is 248-539-9797. Carson Anderson, 10 o'clock. Don't forget Mike Enrico at 2. We're talking about Lions' possible trade possibilities and also the schedule game where, because of Philadelphia's tough schedule they have the next 5 or 6 weeks, the Lions are in prime position to be a number 2 seed at the worst. I can't believe I said that, but I did. Greg in Detroit, you're on 97.1 The Ticket.
You guys are the greatest. Thanks for making me an educated fan and not an emotional fanatic. Really quick, I'm so excited about this, and what you say really keeps me grounded, that before I begin to make an emotional move, you say this is all new to us. And it is, so that keeps me grounded. But what I would like to say, I really watched, I've been a Lions fan forever. I watched the game very, very objectively. I look at the game and see, did we outright win the game, or did the team that we played against lose? And so when I look at that, like for instance, Tampa Bay, they left 21 points on the board. Okay, and what did they leave 21 points on the board at? Because Evans was wide open. A couple of plays that Baker Mayfield missed outright, which would have been touchdowns. So respectively, 21 points that were left on the board. So I say the Lions didn't outright win. Tampa Bay lost the game.
Let me ask you, Greg, let me ask you a question. How many points do you think the Lions probably left on the board? If you look at the all 22s, there are probably passes, plays. There were Goff had a guy wide open. He went to another receiver. I mean, that happens all the time.
Or the fact that you look at that and you say, well, why did Baker Mayfield miss those throws? Was he under duress? Is there something pre-snap that confused him? There's a lot of different reasons why a quarterback will throw an incompletion. Sure, there's sometimes where he just misses. Other times, it is the defense forcing him to be off.
And that's why I love you guys, because you allow me to see things differently. But however, you have to admit that sometimes you win a game because the team actually lost.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, in that particular, where did we lack at? We kind of lacked in that secondary, because the emotional me before I listen to you guys, I want to go get Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is used to the culture. Jamal Williams was the beginning of the culture, and Jamal Williams just really has that lion grit, and he's great in the locker room. If we need to go in that depth to the running back core, he would be great. However, that secondary needs to be addressed, because there was a lot of points that other teams would leave on the board because of our secondary. So that's what I want to look at.
I'm glad you changed your mind. Greg, I'm glad you changed your mind, because next year, because this is not a rental, it would be for Jamal Williams. His base salary is over 3. His cap hit's over 4. It's not worth it when you already have Montgomery and Gibbs.
Yeah.
But how confident? I've never been this confident in the red zone in my Lions life with Jamal Williams. I have never been so confident in the red zone in my Lions life with Jamal Williams, right?
I get it. Thanks for the call, Greg. Appreciate it.
And just one thing real quick.
Okay.
Can you please talk to somebody and have a 100 decimal Lions roar when we do something? I just think that'd be so awesome.
Where, you mean at the stadium?
Yeah, at the stadium when we do make a touchdown or something. You know, just like back in the day when the Tigers used to hit a home run, you used to hear that Tigers roar in the background. It was so awesome. I'm telling you, man, a Lions roar, that 100 decimal Lions roar, oh, man, that would just be so
it'd be
incredible.
Great if Stoney was the one that did the roar, don't you think?
Roar! Yeah, thank you, Greg. I think they still have it. I mean, in Silverdome, they definitely had it. It sounded like a loud toilet flush, but
it sounded like the dragon in the old tic-tac-toe show.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly what it sounded like.
Tic-tac-toe. Oh, God, with Wink Martindale.
That's right.
Not the
Yes.
not the Giants defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, either. What's up, boys? How are you?
I'm well.
All right. You ready to play the 2 Grand Slam?
Sure.
Our contestant today got 5.
Oh, boy.
I have a feeling you'll do better than this, Gator, looking at the questions. All right, here we go. Bryce Harper played for this team before signing with the Phillies.
The Nationals.
He quarterbacked John Jansen's Michigan team to the 97 national championship.
Brian Greasy.
Who coached the Ravens to their first Super Bowl title?
Oh, it was Brian Billick.
What is the capital of Vermont?
Montpelier.
Who was Michigan State's starting quarterback last Saturday?
Caton Hauser.
Travis Kelce played football at this Ohio college.
Miami of Ohio. I don't even know.
This country artist has the current hit Last Night.
Taylor Swift.
Where did Saquon Barkley play in college?
Penn State.
This team lost in the NBA Finals last June.
The Celtics? Not Celtics.
This actor played Hulk in Avengers Endgame.
Mark Ruffalo.
There you go. You got 7. Not bad. You did. I knew you do better than
well
5.
done.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce played football at the University of Cincinnati.
Cincinnati was my second. I should leave.
Morgan Wallen has the current hit last
Morgan
night.
Wallen.
And the
he's
Miami
great.
Heat lost in the NBA Finals.
The Heat, yeah. I've already forgotten about the finals.
Yes, indeed.
You could ask me who won, and I'm like, yeah. They did.
Lane Noguet won.
That's right. The Nuggets won.
And then the Nuggets won.
Yeah.
Real quick, before
Jokic.
I know you got a lot of football and things today, is it a little too early to get excited about the Red Wings? They looked pretty good last night.
No, I don't think so, Stoney.
Okay.
I don't think it's too early.
Okay, good.
No, I was loving it last night.
We all try and dabble in responsibility. And is it responsible to say get excited?
Yeah. It's only 4 games, and, they aren't tied for
I don't
first.
care. It's
Big
my
game
team.
Saturday in Ottawa, revenge game.
That's
and all.
right.
Yeah.
They've had this one on the schedule.
That's right. Exactly.
It's circled. Put a square around it, circle with it, triangles, whatever you want to do.
Yes.
Big game.
All right.
Massive game.
What do you guys got going besides that?
We're giving away Lions tickets.
Whoa! What?
Yep.
Oh,
Monday night Lions tickets?
You got that right.
You in the same building as Scott Van Pelt?
Correct, sir.
Wow.
Yep.
All right. Carson Anderson next. 97 won the ticket.
Seasons are very long, and things change throughout the course of the season. If the Lions go to Baltimore and win, it's hard to envision where and if it could go south. You're setting yourself up.
Stop. We know there's one.
There's one thing. Yeah, there's one thing. But they are really setting themselves up to have a chance at that number 1 seed that he talked about. A win over Baltimore will go a long way toward helping about that. But even if they lose to Baltimore, the Lions' schedule compared to San Francisco and Philadelphia's is on paper significantly easier. They still have the 5 division games. They still have Denver on the schedule. They still have some teams that don't look very good, that really could. Nothing's a punch button win, right? But those are 6 games the Lions have the luxury of playing that Philly and San Francisco don't have.
This is true. The Bears, and we'll see what happens with Justin Fields if he's hurt for the long term or if he was just out for the rest of that game yesterday. But if he's out long term, that torpedoes what they're trying to build. Takes a big old detour.
Yep. We got Lions tickets to give away for the Monday night game against the Vegas Raiders. So that is the good news. It's a pair of tickets in the Miller Lite Tap Room. This is a big, giant suite area. Lions Raiders coming up. And if you don't win, stop by Buffalo Wild Wings in Clinton Township on 15 Mile Road tonight for the Thursday night football feast. At Buffalo Wild Wings with Wojo and Rieger from 6 to 8. And another chance to win courtesy of Miller Lite and Buffalo Wild Wings. We will give those away via a Carson Anderson quiz question, as we usually do.
Is it distracting to watch the game while everybody's tap dancing in that room, or no?
I don't think it's that kind of tap, Gator. It's like a beer tap, not tap dancing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah, that
Miller
makes a lot
Lite.
more sense. Yeah. I'm here for you, man. If you have any other
Thanks.
questions, I'll help you through it.
Do you think they have any summer shandy still, or no?
Probably not. Haven't we firmly shifted from Summer Shandy to Oktoberfest?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think if Miller Lite and the family Miller Lite, do they have any?
I don't think they
Miller
do.
Coors, whatever it is, do they have any Oktoberfest beers?
I don't know. Do not know, but probably somewhere.
I haven't gotten a pumpkin ale yet.
Well, there's still time.
There is.
Pumpkin stuff is still available.
Yeah,
Gator.
no,
I
is
don't know
it?
if you're aware of it. So you can right that wrong right now.
I
my
will.
friend. Anyway, we'll have a quiz question today at 1:41. So stick with us. First one with the correct answer to whatever the quiz question is, and the answer will be something that was said on this show. If you have the correct answer, you get the tickets. Lions, Raiders, Monday Night Football. If you don't win, stop by the Buffalo Wild Wings, Clinton Township. Wojo and Rieger 6 to 8 tonight. There'll be another chance to win there. Okay, so we'll get to the Wide Nine Omaha 4 Down Around League Blitz thingy coming up today at 10:30. First, how was your Wednesday night?
It was very nice watching Red Wings for the most part, and little baseball. But I really like that team.
The Red Wing team?
I like the additions, man. I mean, everybody's contributing. Knock on wood that they can stay healthy. But that Alex DeBrincat is he's pretty good. It's
been a quality signing. It's funny. Like, you get the empty net goal, gives him 5 in 4 games. He probably, the Sprong goal a couple nights ago was all DeBrincat's work with a snipe that handcuffed the goalie, and then the puck laid on the goal line, and Sprong just tipped it in. But Sprong was there. Birchie did a story about all the new guys and how much they've contributed. It's very, very early. We try and stay within the guardrails of responsibility. And yet Gator asked in his show sheet, when do we get chesty about this Red Wing team? And I don't think it's just yet, but man, you hope this is the start of something good, don't you?
I do. Well, you look at the scoring leaders on this team. Here are the guys that are averaging a point per game or more. Shane Gostisbehere, defenseman. He's new. Andrew Kopp. He's not new, but he's healthy and looks pretty good with 3 goals in 4 games. JT Compher, 4 points in 4 games. He's new. Dylan Larkin's not new. He's got 6 and 4. And then Alex DeBrincat, he's new. 8 points, including 5 goals in 4 games played. You like to see that. New guys are contributing. You mentioned Sprong earlier. He's got the 2 goals in the 4 games. We saw the debut of Reimer, the goaltender, who had a shutout his first time out. I'm liking this brand of hockey. The power play looks fantastic. Yeah, winning is good.
60% power play percentage or whatever it is.
Yeah, but they're scoring goals, which is, I mean, it's one thing to just win is great.
Yeah.
But it's not that they're winning necessarily with flair, but I like to see that they're putting the puck in the net on a regular basis as opposed to sporadically.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been good, and there was some, there was a 4-3 game. 2 empty netters made the difference in the end to make it a 6-3 final. But
only 78 left. Get your tickets.
I'm not chesty just yet, but I love what I'm seeing, just like everybody else. You chesty?
A little bit. I mean, because I have to be. I went on a limb and said they'd be a playoff team, and I believe that, and they're proving me correct right now. Now things could go south, obviously, quickly, but I'm enjoying it.
Well, they're beating some playoff caliber teams.
That they are.
So
keep it up.
Schedule not easy right out of the gate. Let's see what comes out of this, right?
Absolutely.
See what comes out of it. Meanwhile, they got Ottawa next. Ottawa is a team that feels like a budding rival. Last year, the 2-game set with Ottawa in the middle of the season, right at the trade deadline, was depressing. Hated the way that Ottawa played. It was very effective. I don't hate them for doing it, but I thought that they were the initiator of physical play and then complaining about it, but it worked. I mean, they pounded Detroit in those 2 games. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they match up with Ottawa after last year.
I agree with you. I mean, Brady Tkachuk just kind of put the team on his shoulder and laughed at the Red Wings last year. So we'll see what they do this year. He's got 4 goals in 4 games to start off. They've added Tarasenko to the team. He started off hot with 6 points in the 4 games. They've got a good core of players. It's a good team Ottawa has.
Meanwhile, Michigan State coming up on Saturday. You had a question in your show sheet about whether or not the game would be chippy. It's funny, having been down to Chembeckler Hall this week, there has been a very businesslike attitude when the media asks about anything that's happened in the past. The team's like, look, has nothing to do with what's going to happen Saturday night. We're all just focused forward and taking care of business. Michigan State, I mean, trying to build something, and maybe, Kate and Hauser build something around that. And I mean, 2 programs in different places right now, but 2 programs that I think, if you're Michigan, you set your goals very high. And if you're Michigan State, you set the goals for what you can get out of this season, right? And, rivalry games, the number one issue with every single week when you go into any game is to win the game. And, from a Michigan perspective, that's the priority. You don't just roll out the helmets, and you just don't roll out the helmets in a rivalry game. That's how you get burned.
No, these games tend to be closer than what you may expect when you expect the big blowout. Mm-hmm. But I still don't think it's going to be close. I think Michigan State's going to come up with a pretty good effort to start off with, but can they maintain it? And that's the big problem they've had in the last few weeks, is that they just haven't been able to maintain. They haven't played 60 minutes of football. They started off really slow against Maryland and picked it up, and then they couldn't finish against Iowa and sure as hell couldn't finish against Rutgers, and that's going to sting. And because they've started off the way they have, I asked the question, is anybody going to be chippy in this one? Michigan State has no right to be lippy about anything. I think they've been humbled, and I don't think that they're going to be open up their yapper too much. I don't think the Spartans care about what happened with the tunnel last year. I don't think Michigan cares about what happened in the tunnel last year. Michigan should approach this very businesslike, and I suspect they will. This is a team that doesn't commit penalties. They're extraordinarily disciplined, and I don't know if their discipline is going to be, if it's going to be challenged this week because it's the big rivalry game, but if it is, I suspect that they're going to answer the bell with the challenge to be disciplined, because they know they've got bigger fish to fry than just the Spartans. But the Spartans are the next one on the schedule.
248-539-9797. We'll talk some NFL today at 10:30. There is a trend going on that you just cannot escape, and we will get to that today at 10:16 here on Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Hey, get ready to start the NFL week off right, because right now all customers get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday Night Football. Just place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between New Orleans and Jacksonville, and you get bonus bets back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlay is a perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Build your own or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/Doug so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older and present in Michigan. First online real money wager only. Refund issued is non-withdrawal bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Maximum refund is $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help. Jeff Darlington, ESPN reporter, tweeted out a video last night of Lions fans just going nuts after the game. And he tweets, I've seen a lot of opposing fan bases make noise for a team after a win, but the Lions might have topped them all today. Or as Jared Goff said to me as he left the field, are you seeing this? Best fans in the effing league. Peter King estimated there were 25,000 Lions fans.
Wow. I mean, that's wow.
Yep.
What is that, a third of the capacity there? That's amazing.
Yep.
I mean, I thought they'd travel well, and I know that you already got a bunch of transplanted Michiganders down there in the state of Florida and go to Tampa to see the Lions play when they're good. It doesn't surprise me that there'd be a lot, but that number,
yep,
that's a big estimate.
Yep. Doug Harsh, Scott Anderson, 97. Want to take it open lines? 248-539-9797. Okay, so, it's funny. Your show sheet today asked a question. Is something I was documenting this morning. A couple days ago, Stephen A. Smith was listing off his best teams. I can't remember if it was the best teams in the NFC or the best teams in football. I think it was the best teams in the NFC. No, it was the best teams in football. And he had the Lions number one. I'm like, all right. And then Jeff Saturday yesterday said something I think might be more accurate, but it's worthy of discussion. He said he thought the Lions were going to have the best record in football. He said he were going to have the best record in football, which doesn't mean they're the best team in football, but I think you can make a strong case for that being a possibility. At least we're licensed to have that discussion. Mike Greenberg this morning on ESPN said the following, and I quote, "The Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFL, and that includes everyone." Gator, how you feeling about the national media going, I don't know if it's over the top?
It's like there is no gradual step up to get to this level, right? That a couple of years ago, I mean, we as Lions fans, we've seen the growth.
Mm-hmm.
But from the national media perspective, it's almost like the Lions got no credit last year, and all of a sudden now, whoa, look at this best team in football. And we're like, whoa, that's where were you last year? We needed where's the bridge? Give us a little bit of
the bridge
of warning here before you jump all the way up there. I mean, I don't think they're the best team in football, but I think they're in the discussion. And you want to make declarative statements after 6 games, I guess do so at your own peril. I am a little uncomfortable hearing that much national praise. But at the same time, I want our team discussed. I want them talked about in relative and respective conversations that you can include everybody. And I think if you, without having to pick who's the top team, if you can say who are the top teams, I'm comfortable with the Lions being in that discussion. I start to get uncomfortable when they put them at the top.
So when you have a forum, like a media, and we have jobs like this, there's the stuff that everybody says that you're aware of that everybody's saying. And then there's the stuff that you go, okay, this is one of my original points. This is an original thought. I haven't heard anybody else say this, and I'm going to take this. And I'm going to own this. I'm going to do my research. I'm going to back it up. I'm going to make a point that I haven't heard anybody else make. And that's how you kind of try and distinguish yourself in this business. Now, that doesn't mean everything has to be a hot take, right? Where you just throw something against the wall. What's weird is when everybody is saying some great stuff about the Lions, I'm almost waiting for the people to start going the other direction. It's gotten to the point where it's so overwhelmingly positive that I feel like we're maybe weeks, maybe days away from it inverting and going the other direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everybody's saying the same thing now.
Right. And if you, like, the national media hasn't had the Charlie Brown, Lucy relationship that the Lions fans have had with the team. So, like, if something happens where they take a step back, it almost feels like the national media will react like we have in the past, and then they'll forget about it. And I don't know if it's a bad thing. I think this is a good football team. Do I worry about them reading their own press clippings or flipping on the TV and seeing that they're talked about all the time? Not as much as I would have, I think, in the past. I do think that Dan Campbell does a good job of keeping this team humble. I think the team does a good job of policing themselves and keeping them humble. There's a time to be a braggart, and there's a time to just watch and observe as things go on. And I think this team knows when to celebrate and knows when to reel it in and just concentrate.
I worry less about that stuff with NFL teams. Full-time professional athletes that I think when they get in that building and when they leave that building, they're isolated in their own world and they're doing their own thing. And not everybody, but I think there's a level of professionalism that if you don't show up and do your work, you don't want it to cost you your paycheck. and I think with maturity and responsibility, they are less likely to do things like read their own press clippings and fall for that. But 248-539-9797. Let's get to your phone calls. Bob, you're on 97.1 The Ticket. What's up, Bob?
Hey, good morning, guys. You know, what strikes me about this team that really makes me blow my mind when listening to Greenberg say they're the best team of football is when you look at it on a position-by-position basis. Other than maybe Aiden Hutchinson, they don't have anybody at any position that would, in my mind, that would qualify as within the top four players at that position anywhere on the team.
Penei Sewell might be.
Penei Sewell and Jared Goff might be up there.
Sewell, yes. Goff, I don't think so. But anyway,
well, he's the third-rated quarterback in the National Football League right now, behind Tua and behind Brock Purdy. I'm just saying he's rated there.
Bob, obviously you don't, but your point being?
I get it. My point being, I think that we have to start calling this team the Going to Work Lions, because they remind me so much of the Pistons, that way. So I say there's a new label we have to put in this team. The Going to Work Lions. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, the Going to Work Pistons didn't have the one superstar, and this gritty group of Lions, the grit group, doesn't have the one guy either. I would agree with that, because as good as Aiden Hutchinson is, he's not. I don't think he's in a top three of defensive ends. He might not even be in a top five. He's good. He's
really
very good.
He's really good.
I really like him.
He's just getting started.
Yeah, but he's not Max Crosby. He's not TJ Watt, but he's really freaking good. Just like Jared Goff is really freaking good.
It does feel like a lot of Detroit championship teams outside of Red Wing teams were kind of like this. I think about the 84 Tigers. I think about both Pistons championships. And although I guess Isaiah was a star. But they weren't as big a star. And the Pistons, the Going to Work Pistons, had at the time no stars.
Even the 08 Red Wings.
Yeah, they had that was the one that came to mind, but the Red Wings always had Yzerman. And
not that team.
Not that team. That team, though, was loaded. You're right, but they had
the 08 team was
the 08 team, he was gone. The first incarnations of Stanley Cup champions.
Where those were loaded teams.
Yeah. But look, so there's a degree of truth in that, and there's a degree of kind of consistent with what happens here in Detroit. That could be changing quickly, though. I do think Sewell, I do think Goff, I do think I would make a case that those two fit into the top five in their position. Is Amon-Ra playing in a top five as a top five wideout right now?
He's awfully valuable to this team, but I think, you look at him in terms of the rest of the league. Is he close to being? I mean, he's 13th in the National Football League in yards. So just look at it from that standpoint. In receptions, he is 11th, or he's 10th. So I would say no. I think he's very, very good. Love to have him on this team, but he's not. He's not one of those top 10 guys. but he plays it. If you look at slot receivers, would you say he's a top 5 slot receiver? Maybe.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is really good and probably underappreciated in this league. But the thing is, he's not that splash home run sexy type of receiver that gets a lot of attention nationally. I think that's what this Lions team is. If any of the receivers is going to blow up nationally, I think it would probably be Jameson Williams. Because, when he touches the ball, he's only touched the ball 4 or 5 times in his career, and like 2 of them have been touchdowns, and the other
and one was called back. Yeah,
and the other one was like a 40-yard reverse or whatever. So those type of plays St. Brown doesn't normally make. He's just so damn good and so consistent and so reliable and dependable that I don't care if he gets national attention. That's what it is. Kind of what Detroit is. We're just
it keeps that chip on his shoulder. He loves that chip on his shoulder.
What's wild too is get this stat. Underdog NFL, which does a lot of fantasy stuff, put out a stat. This is the number of completions of 20 or more yards this season. Kirk Cousins has 23, Stafford 24, Tua and CJ Stroud have 25. Nobody has 26, 27, or 28. Jared Goff has 29.
It's tops in the league, right?
Yeah. I mean, what's going on here is I'm really struggling to comprehend how well it's going. And
it's remarkable how different it is from a year ago.
Yep.
And 2 years ago when he came into the Lions fold. He's now some of that I think is throwing the ball and letting guys get yards after catch, but a lot of that is just throwing the ball. It's 20 air yards.
248-539-9797. More of your phone calls coming up. We swing around the NFL next. 97.1.
It starts at the top and goes all the way down. But the culture is set by Sheila Ford-Hamp and, Brad Holmes, Chris Spielman, Dorsey, Dan Campbell, the players, everybody in the front office, the nutritionist, training staff, whatever. There's just a mindset there of all for, one for all for one, whatever it is. They're all have a singular goal. And that used to never be there. There used to be all these fiefdoms that this person cared about this thing, and nobody would get along. They got along as people a lot of times, but they weren't on the same page.
Yep.
You have to have in today's National Football League, you have to be on the same page.
Sorry.
You all right?
Yeah, it's just that we got this recycle bin in here, and I'm trying to. I change it out every week, and it's a giant mess today, and I'm trying to fix it during commercial breaks. But whatever.
It's fixed.
It's fixed-ish. Yes, we're getting there. You ready to swing around the NFL?
Am I?
Let's go. All right, so we got 6 questions. Gator won the toss and received yesterday. I go first today with the college football. I go first today. Kang is back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Let's go.
All right, here we go. Last week on 2 primetime games, Coach Sean Payton and Coach Mike McCarthy, they had their play sheets. They were clearly shown on national television. All you had to do was kind of zoom in, and it was as clear as day. You could read, the play calls and all that stuff. Sean Payton came out this week and said it's not that big of a deal. Is he right or is he being coy?
Well, I don't know that you want to do this, but he's probably right. I mean, the name of the plays probably doesn't help all that much. Maybe the groupings of plays, you can see what your third and short plays are, your third and long plays are, things of that nature. But in football anymore, everybody kind of knows what you're doing. Like the scouting is so deep that you watch enough film, you know what you can run out of every formation. I don't think there's nearly as many secrets as people think.
Well, not anymore. Not if you're showing all its plays on national television. But no, I agree with you. It's not a big deal because every team does their due diligence. They do all their prep work, and you know what the down and distance, what plays they've run because you've got somebody that's documenting all that, and you have services that do that for you too. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's like, look, we joke all the time about it being the menu, right? Oh, here's the menu at Big Boy or whatever. You can see all the items on the menu, but you don't know what the person's going to eat. So I don't think it's a big deal at all.
Yeah, Sean Payton's more right than coy. I mean, they can change. They're always changing things like verbiage and, just the night before, let alone the week leading up and all that stuff. So you're never going to get that much of it. We make a big deal out of signing a player that used to be on their practice squad or a former player. That guy could not possibly update the entire coaching staff on what's going on with the other team. So, yeah, I think Sean Payton's more right than wrong. But there is a reason why they cover their mouths, though, guys. So, I mean, I don't think it's, I don't think you don't want to hand it over completely. The Bears might have the number 1 pick again, which means they would have first dibs at Caleb Williams. Former Bears linebacker, though, Lance Briggs said on a podcast this week that why would they draft Caleb Williams? They already have Caleb Williams. He would use those resources to build the rest of the team up that they're lacking so much in. If he is Lance Briggs right? Should the Bears actually pass on Caleb Williams?
I think he is right. In a way it shakes out right now, I think they would have maybe even the top 2 picks in the draft. There's going to be so much interest in Caleb Williams that I think that the trade offers would be through the roof. Take advantage of it. Go ahead and do that. I haven't given up on Justin Fields. I think he's just starting to scratch the surface of what he can be. Think how much better he can be when you start adding more pieces around him. I mean, if you want to take Marvin Harrison Jr., you can take Marvin Harrison Jr. You want to take an offensive lineman, the best offensive lineman to draft, you can do that. You want to build up your defense a little bit, go ahead. And all the draft capital you would accrue because of trading that top pick to somebody else, you're able to go out and get the top running back in the draft if you want. You can do a number of things. I would absolutely pass on Caleb Williams if I were the Bears.
I think the one thing I wouldn't want to pass on Caleb Williams, and the one thing where you and I might differ, because I think most of what you said is right, but I would shop Justin Fields around, see what I could get, knowing that not only, you're right, as of right now, Chicago has both the top 2 picks because they have Carolina's pick. So they could get a lot at the top of the draft. Even if they trade the number 1 pick, they could add a bunch more picks. But just make sure there isn't a good market for Justin Fields and you go for the full-scale restart. But if you can't get a lot for Justin Fields, I still wouldn't give up on him. We joke about the Ohio State quarterback thing, but whatever. The skill set is there, man. It would be so great to see. So great. If I were a Bears fan, I guess it would be great to see if they built an offensive line, built around him, what more he could do.
I still believe in Justin Fields as well, guys, and he's actually played better the last couple of games before he got hurt. With that being said, I just think Caleb Williams is too good of a pro prospect to pass up. I think this guy is. We seem to have him more than we did before because Trevor Lawrence was probably the last guy who was can't miss. You have to take him number one no matter what. Before Lawrence, maybe it was Andrew Luck, but I think Caleb Williams is in that category. I think you use Justin Fields to get the rest of the team better. Now, you wouldn't get as much of a package as you would if you trade Caleb Williams, but I would trade Justin Fields, help the rest of the team, and I would take Caleb Williams.
You going to give him part ownership of the team?
Absolutely not. All right, Roger Goodell gets a 3-year extension. Boys, your first thoughts?
I mean, I'm sorry, Doug. Is this you? This is you.
Go ahead.
My bad. No, you.
It's good to be commissioner of the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, the league is grown into a monster. The owners build warehouses to store all their money. I mean, I don't know what the bottom line with the NFL is good. You might not agree with all his decisions, but it's a great time to be an owner. So I'm not surprised that he is back representing the owners.
Yeah, and look, if you're an owner in the National Football League, you probably love Roger Goodell. You get over any sanctions that have been levied to your team or your players. You get over that real quickly when you see that big fat paycheck at the end of the year because of the revenue sharing and all that. I mean, it's a license to print money. He's been at the helm. He's the number one reason why you have. He's actually branched out and found more and more revenue streams each and every year. We as fans may not like it, but the owners got to love it. I'm sure that in their eyes, he definitely deserves it.
Yeah, he's obviously great for the owners. They care about the bottom line and what's good for business. And Roger Goodell's been good for the NFL business. As a fan, as personally speaking for myself, I'm not a big fan of Roger Goodell. I think he's been bad on minority hiring, bad on player safety, the gambling situation. I didn't like the rules. They had to rework those things. A lot of things I don't like about Roger Goodell. Adding more games, all that stuff. Not a personal fan of, but as an owner, you can't help but like what he's done. Look what the Washington Commanders just sold for. Any other team that wants to come into this, I mean, they might go international team. Who knows how much London would cost. So I understand it. Personally, I'm not a big fan of him, though. Okay, have the Patriots hit rock bottom? Should they just start tanking right now?
Aren't they tanking right now? This is the worst team, and I think they're the worst team in football. Even though Carolina is technically worse with their 0-5 record, or 0-6, whatever they are, 0-6 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Patriots are 1-5. They have mustered all of 72 points in 6 games. 72 points. That's pathetic. It's 12 points a game. That's absolutely pathetic. I think you can point to obvious reasons why there's no star power there outside of Judon, the defensive end, and I think he's missed some time. They need to find their quarterback. They need to get everything intact with an offensive line. They need some skill players. All this might be just too much for Bill Belichick to handle at this point. We've talked about him before, whether or not this is it for him. I mean, do you want to do this rebuild if you're Bill Belichick?